Hello, I will be reading the next short stories in Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. The last story is Rocket Summer. I won't put a link to it because I don't know how to. Let's see how long this story is. How long is this story? I'm going to split the story up into multiple pieces. It's long. I will do, I don't know. I'll do as many as I can do before I get to a good stopping place. They had a house of crystal pillars on the planet Mars by the edge of an empty sea. And every morning you could see Mrs. K eating the golden fruits from the crystal walls, or cleaning the house with handfuls of magnetic dust, which taking all the dirt with it blew away on the hot wind. Afternoons, when the fossil sea was warm and motionless, and the wine tree stood stiff in the yard, and the distant Martian bone town was closed, and no one drifted out of their doors, you could see Mr. K himself in his room, reading from a metal book which raised hieroglyphics over which he brushed his hand. With raised hieroglyphics over which he brushed his hand. Okay, that makes not much sense. As one might play a harp, and from the book, as his fingers stroked, a voice sang, a soft ancient voice, which told tales when the sea was red steam on the shore, and ancient men had carried clouds of metal insects and electric spiders into battle. Mr. and Mrs. K had lived by the Dead Sea for 20 years, and their ancestors have lived in the same house, which turned in the falling sun flower-like for 10 centuries. Mr. and Mrs. K were not old. They had a fair brownish skin of the true Martian, and yellow coin eyes. The soft musical voices. Once they had liked painting pictures with chemical fire, swimming in the canals in the seasons when the wine trees filled them with green liquors, and talking into the dawn and together by the blue phosphorus orchards in the speaking room. They were not happy now. This morning, Mrs. K stood between the pillars, listening to the desert sand's heat melt into yellow wax, and seemingly run on the horizon. Sometimes it's going to happen, or something was going to happen. She waited. She watched the blue sky of Mars as if it might at any moment grip onto itself, contract, and expel a shining miracle upon the sand. Nothing happened. Tired of waiting, she walked through the misting pillars. A gentle rain spring the fluted pillar tops, cooling the scorched air falling gently on her. On hot days with the walking creak, the floors of the house glittered with cool streams. In the distance she heard her husband playing his book steadily, his fingers never tired of the old songs. Quietly, she wished he might one day spend as much time holding and touching her like a little harp as he did his incredible books. But no. She shook her head with an unpredictable forgiving shrug. Her eyelids closed softly upon her golden eyes. Marriage made people old and familiar. While still young, she lay back in the chair that moved to take her shape even as she moved. Even She lay back in a chair that took her shape even as she moved. Okay. She closed her eyes tightly and nervously. A dream occurred. Her brown fingers trembled, came up, grasped at the air. A moment later, she sat up, startled, gasping. She glanced about swiftly, as if expecting someone there before her. She seemed disappointed. The space between the pillars was empty. Her husband appeared in a triangular door. "Did you call?" he asked irritably. "No," she cried. "I thought I heard you cry out." "I did. I was almost asleep, and I had a dream." "In the daytime? You don't often do that." She sat if struck in the face by the dream. "How strange, how very strange," she murmured. "The dream." "Oh?" He evidently wished to return to his book. "I dreamed about a man." "A man?" "A tall man, 6 feet 1 inch tall." "How absurd! A giant, a misshapen giant." Somehow, she tried the words. "He looked all right, in spite of being tall, and he had, oh, I remember, y'all think silly, he had blue eyes." "Blue eyes? Gods!" cried Mr. K. "What'll you dream next?" "I supposed he had black hair." "How did you guess?" She was excited. "I picked the most unlikely color," he replied coldly. "Well, black it was," she cried. And he had very white skin. He was most unusual. He was dressed in a strange uniform. He came down the sky and spoke pleasantly to me and smiled. "Out of the sky? What nonsense!" "He came in a metal thing that glittered in the sun," she remembered. She closed her eyes to shape it again. "I dreamed the sky was something sparkled, like a coin thrown into the air, and suddenly it grew large and fell down softly to the land. A long silver craft, armed an alien, and a door opened in the side of the silver object, and a tall man stepped out. If you worked hard, then you wouldn't have these silly dreams." "I rather enjoyed it," she replied, laying back. "I never suspected myself of such an imagination. Black hair, blue eyes, white skin. What a strange man. Quite handsome." I know some people who match that description. "Wishful thinking. You're unkind. I didn't think him up on purpose. He just came in my mind as I drowsed. It wasn't like a dream. It was so unexpected and different. He looked up at me and said, 'I've come from the third planet in my ship. My name is Nathaniel York.'" That's a weird way to spell Nathaniel. "A stupid name. It's no name at all," objected the husband. "Of course it's stupid, because it's a dream," she explained softly. I didn't say it softly. "And he said, 'This is the first trip across space. There are only 2 of us on the ship. Myself and my friend Bert.'" Another stupid name. "And he said, 'We're from the city on Earth.' That's the name of our planet," continued Mrs. K. "That's what he said. Earth. The name he spoke. He used another language somehow. I understood him with my mind. Telepathy, I suppose. 'This is Earth.'" Mrs. K turned away. She stopped him with a word. "Y11. I think. Ye. Looks like 2 1s. Y11. She called quietly. "Do you ever wonder if our people living on the third planet?" "Yes, we are the people." If that or they're all died. That's a different story in this book. Multiple different stories. That's a spoiler. Something soft rains. That's not part of the story. It's another story. It's dark. Mr. K turned away. Wait, no. It's not right there. The third planet is incapable of supporting life, stated the husband patiently. Our scientists have said there's far too much oxygen in their atmosphere. But wouldn't it be fascinating if there were people and they really traveled through space in some sort of ship? Really? Y111 or Y11A? You know how I hate emotional whaling. Let's get on with our work. Okay, I'm going to stop it there because that's a good stopping place. Let's see. Bookmark. And pencils are bad for it. Let's slip out too easily. It's part of its thing. That's a CD. I guess I could use this. That was a part of a story from the Ray Bradbury book, Martian Chronicles. I'm covering the name. The Martian Chronicles. By Ray Bradbury. I think it's one of the stories that he implemented into this because he had other stories that are not directly related to the plot of this book. So, like, sometimes Mars was never habitable to life, and then humans colonized it. And that story, no. It's things already living on Mars. So it's pretty interesting so far. I'll get to that soonish. I don't know. I'm Alan Terrace. That was Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. I cannot remember the story. I will start looking at it later. Bye.